This is Anil Lewis. I'm Executive Director of Blindness Initiatives for the National Federation of the Blind, spending time with my NFB of Pennsylvania Federation family, and you're listening to White Canes Connect.
Hey there, PA Federationists. Welcome to another episode of White Canes Connect, presented by the National Federation of the Blind of Pennsylvania. My name is David Goldstein. I am your first vice president, and I know it has been a minute, but we have been busy, and you're going to hear what we've been working on over the last few months where we haven't recorded an episode. In today's episode, we're going to hear the keynote speech from the National Federation of the Blind of Pennsylvania's State Convention banquet from our national rep, Anil Lewis. But before we get to that, I know I am still recovering. You can hear it in my voice. Jane brought something down with her from New York, and I still have it. Thank you, Jane. In all seriousness, though, thank you to Jane, who was a huge help for me during our convention. As I said, I'm recovering still, but keep our president, Lynn Heights, in your thoughts because she is recovering from something a little more serious. She had surgery a couple days after our convention ended and spent nearly a week in the hospital. She is now at home, resting comfortably, and as she tells me, getting a little bit better each day. So keep her in your thoughts as we move through the holiday season. I'd like to remind you that every Monday in the 12 o'clock hour, we drop a new episode of Federation Focus over on our YouTube channel. Just search for NFB of PA, or if you want to type it in your browser address bar, youtube.com/NFBOFPA. So NFB of PA, all together, no spaces and whatnot. So check those out. You'll learn about upcoming meetings within the affiliate, divisions, chapters, and whatnot, as well as any fundraisers that are going on. So go take a look over there. Every Monday, a new episode drops, and you can go back and look at all the previous ones that we've done since we launched that in March. Now, you're going to hear Anil say something about the introduction that I gave him during our banquet speech, and it was very short. It didn't give him a lot of time to get up to the podium. Now, let's hear from our national rep to the 2025 National Federation of the Blind of Pennsylvania State Convention, Anil Lewis, and his keynote banquet speech.
Thank you, David, for that outstanding introduction. Usually I get a little time to get ready. Yep, here's Anil. I was presenting, and I forget the event, but they said, now, what would you like us to say? How would you like it? I said, say anything. It's okay. No, what would you like? I said, well, get up there and just say, here's that blind guy. Yeah, but they wouldn't do it. It wasn't a blind event, but they wouldn't do it. I would have loved that. Yeah. How you guys doing? Haven't you heard enough from me already? Okay, good. Remember you asked for this. I gave you your chance. Let me offer again, and you heard it from his own words. President Rick Abono, that was sincere. He really does regret it because he, like me, really loves engaging with the members. I don't think that we'd be in the positions that we're in now if we didn't get joy in doing that. I was just talking to Lauren, who I was trying to talk her into giving the banquet speech, but she wouldn't do it. But I was telling her, and people don't believe it, I'm very much an introvert. And people think, no, seriously, people laugh. I really do. I have to have time to decompress. Like even after this event, I love doing what I do because I want to make sure that the message is clear and I take this part of my job seriously. But I'm not one of those people that get energy from all of this. You know how some people, they get in front of the crowd and they get hyped and then they just get hyper. So as again, President Rick Abono is unable to make it, but his loss is my gain. So I really have appreciated the opportunity to be here with all of you. The thing that I wanted to talk about, did you guys get the wristbands? Okay, so did you read them? Okay, so I started reading mine, and I'm like, MNOP. What does this spell? QR. It's the alphabet. Yeah, I did not. This is a long word. Yeah, I love these wristbands, though, so that's really great. It's a really nice way of making sure we can take care of things without having to go through all the effort that people have done in the past. I love it. We shush and then it gets started again. Don't make me come back there. I was also not only just raised Southern Baptist, I was raised by a Southern mama. So, um, let me, before I get started, again express my sincere appreciation for the commitment and sacrifice that Lynn Height makes to run and lead this organization. We are blessed to have her. Um, as she stated earlier, she is a member of the 2002, the UU2 scholarship class. So there's nothing but quality that came out of that. So you're welcome. I also have to again offer my sincere respect and appreciation for the many years that Jim Antonacci sacrificed to build this affiliate that we're all here still enjoying today. So thank you, Jim, for your hard work. Again, shouting out to my sister from another mother, Denise Brown, 22 years as the chapter president. That's full service right there. Yeah. And it's unfortunate it doesn't come with a pension, but you did it right. You did it right. I love you. And I'd be remiss if I didn't give high praise to the young lady who was sitting to my left. I met Lauren Altman some years ago, and she impressed me from the moment that I met her. She has a humble, calm demeanor, a sincere heart for doing the work. She's always focusing on self-improvement, not just for herself, but she's committed to making sure that her time, talent, and intent is leaned toward building this organization. And to that end, I thank you very much, Lauren. And you know that I love you. I'm the president of the Lauren Altman fan club. If you'd like to join later, see me after the banquet. Yeah. No. Was that Lee? Noor, okay. You guys, you're something else. But but I noticed when your mom was like, "That's my baby," I said, "That's where they got it from, right there." I love that. Thank you guys for being here. This has been a wonderful convention. The love and support that you guys share for one another is exemplary. That's what the organization is all about. And I appreciate you sacrificing your time to be here, but not just sacrificing, you did it with so much joy and love. It was fun. So I thank you guys for that. I want to take a little time to talk about me. Do you mind? Okay. My favorite topic. There's a saying, and I forget whether it was Dr. Jernigan that said it to Dr. Maurer or Dr. Timbrook that said it to Dr. Jernigan, but it was at a convention. And so let's just say it was Dr. Jernigan telling Dr. Maurer. And Dr. Maurer was at his first convention, and he's doing all he can to make sure things run well. And he goes to Dr. Jernigan and he tells, "This happened, I fixed it. This is what I did. And this happened." And Dr. Jernigan's like, "Where have you been all my life? Right? I've been needing someone like this." And then he asks him, he says, "So you've been engaged?" "Yes." He says, "Have you learned more or have you taught more?" So Dr. Meyer didn't want to be arrogant, and say, "Yeah, of course I've taught more." He says, "I've learned more." And Dr. Jernigan's response was, "Why are you taking more than you're giving?" Yeah. I don't know if it's a trick question, but hey, it's a powerful statement, right? So I want to go down a list of things here, of things I've done in and around the Federation, what the Federation's done for me. And at the end, I want you guys to give me an honest assessment of whether I've been learning more or teaching more. Fair enough? Okay. All right, jotted down just a few things. Bear with me. It'll only be about, let's see, 2.5 hours. I got you. 1989, I went blind due to retinitis pigmentosa. At that particular point in my life, I was on the track. I was on the VP track at the local savings and loan. I was finishing my first college degree, had my Mustang convertible, ladies. Yeah, yeah. I was on the fast track. And over the weekend, from Friday to Monday, I lost enough vision so that I could no longer read my computer screen. So had I known then what I know now, I still could have had that job. But just like I was saying earlier, things happen for a reason. And I'm glad. I mean, yeah, it would have been nice to be retiring from the bank right now with a nice, significant pension. I'm not hating on that. But I would not have had the joy of interacting with this organization in this real way. So peripherally, what was going on is my brother and sister had went blind long before me. And they were working at the Georgia Industries for the Blind, making sub-minimum wages for doing piecemeal work. So we had two Lewises at GIB. I didn't know any better. So when I went blind, I thought there were going to be three Lewises at GIB. But luckily for me, I met some individuals who knew the Federation. And although I didn't really join the Federation, they at least encouraged me to continue my education and encouraged me to get the training that I needed in order to learn how to read Braille and travel and those types of things. So I appreciated them for doing that. But because I didn't know the Federation, I didn't have a reality check partner, right? And I went through the training and they made me think I was awesome. You read 33 words per minute? That's amazing. You could travel from home to school, back to the center that's awesome. And I thought, yeah, it is pretty impressive, isn't it? So I went on this particular journey for quite some time, feeling very full of myself. And I'm honest about that. So let's skip forward to 1995. Right. At this particular point, I'm working at this local community rehabilitation program. I'm doing job placement for blind people, having very limited success. But I realized that there was this organization again that came up, this National Federation of the Blind, that was hosting this national convention. And they said there's this guy, Jim Gashel, who knows all about Social Security work incentives and all these other job opportunities for the blind. I said, that's what I need. I'll get some of that and I'll be better at my job. So I went to Chicago in 1995. Anybody at the 1995 Chicago convention? Outstanding, wasn't it? Those bagpipes at the opening session, phenomenal. Yeah, if I would have known more about the Federation. So I know we've had lots of these wonderful stories about how it was welcoming. And I'm going to tell you the truth. This is what happened to me. 1995, I went into that convention. I sat down in this seat that had a sign that said Georgia. Makes sense. I'm from Georgia. I should sit here with Georgia's sign. Didn't know what it meant. And lady walked up to me and she says, "You can't sit there." I mean, but I'm from Georgia. You can't sit there. No hello, no who are you, no welcome to the National Federation of the Blind. Is this your first? None of that. So I got up and I went and sat with Hawaii. And they had the nice aloha spirit. They were like, welcome, here's a lei, have fun, sit down, enjoy yourself. Luckily that happened or I probably would have left at that particular time, right? So my onboarding at that particular point did not make me feel like I wanted to be a member of this organization. So I left there. No one told me about a banquet. No one told me. I went to all of the employment stuff. I did gain a lot of skills. I became very good at my job, placing anywhere from 24 to 36 blind people on a regular basis. But I did not attribute that in any real way to the Federation. It was just another conference. So let's skip ahead to 1997. Right. I'm living the best life I can. I'm still working in the space. I got a really good job at Ronstadt Staffing. I started a disability employment initiative during the Paralympics in 96. We employed well over 500 people, really living the life I wanted, even without the Federation. Still cocky, still arrogant, thinking I still had the one. I got married. And in 1997, my wife gave birth to my joy, to this day, Mr. Marc Lewis. So everything's in line, right? Everything's going just fine. Until 1999. I left Randstad and I started working for the Georgia Client Assistance Program, doing a very good job because advocacy is in my gut. I just like being the defender of people who need someone to help them. And I love that I do it in a way that empowers them so they don't need me every time. I get them to put skin in the game. Anyway, again, enough about me in that space. But I was working at the Client Assistance Program and I went to a Georgia State Convention in that capacity as a CAP representative. The other thing that happened too in 1999 was that was a national convention of the National Federation of the Blind there in Atlanta. Also, that time I knew a little better about what was going on. I got to experience the whole space. So that's what got me to go excited to the state convention, right? So I get up and I do my CAP presentation. And it was right before the break, and I sat down, and the president of the NFP of Georgia at that time said, "Anil, thank you for coming, but we realized that the client assistance program is really worthless. It doesn't really help consumers in any real way. Let me introduce myself. I'm Anil Lewis. I was born in inner city Atlanta. I don't take off anybody." So I got up in the middle of that convention, and I confronted him in the front of the convention, and we went at it for a little while. And one guy says, now, Federationists, we're at convention. And I was about to tell him what we could do at this convention. Because interesting enough, during my presentation, which I was solid, I'm answering questions, and there's this guy at the head table that's asking all these questions, and I'm answering them the best I can. And at one point, I got a little irritated. I said, "Excuse me, sir, I think I should take some questions from the audience." And no one from the audience said a thing. I knew nothing about who a Marc Maurer was. Dr. Maurer was grilling me. He was asking, and he knows rehab. So he was asking everything. All of his questions were appropriate. I think all my answers were on point, but the whole thing was so uncomfortable for me. So that when the president dressed me down, I'm thinking, okay, I see what's going on here. So I went and I packed up my stuff, and I'm in my room getting ready to leave, and knock on my door. It was Mrs. Shropshire. She was Dr. Maurer's assistant at the time. She says, Dr. Maurer would like to speak with you. I'm still in my head, right? Okay. Feeling froggy? Let's jump. You know, uh, I went with an attitude, straight attitude back in that room. And all we did was we sat and we talked. We talked about family. We talked about access technology. Of course, we talked about blindness. In the midst of all of that, that's when I saw the love of the Federation. That was an immediate bond that took hold that is still strong to this day. As a result, he invited me to the National Center to meet his family. And he was asking me all kinds of questions then, too. If anybody knows Dr. Maurer, he asks questions. And there are some really, you don't know why and whatever, but I didn't realize at the time he was interviewing me for a job. So at that particular time, I had a whole lot going on. I'll tell you about it. But it was really powerful the way that he shared his life and his family with me. Again, that's love. That's agape right there. Also in 1999, as a result of that friendship, he invited me to come to my first leadership seminar. Anybody here been in a presidential leadership seminar? What was the name of your seminar? Oh, okay. All right. So, a slanky dog over here. Yeah. I was with the Three Strikes Seminarians, the best seminar this organization has ever had. Getting a theme here? Yeah, okay. But that's when I met Marc Riccobono. He was a member of the Three Strikes Seminarians, and just like that connection I had with Dr. Maurer, I had that same connection with Marc Riccobono. We were fast friends from the start, sitting in the back of the room, causing a little bit of disruption. But of course, Dr. Maurer gives as good as he gets, so be careful about that. But it was wonderful, wonderful experience and wonderful building experience for me, and I appreciate that. Again, he was pouring into me long before I even knew who he was in a real way. So I told you I'd get back to what I was going through at that time. I could not even consider the job because, unfortunately, the marriage I was in was not working. And there was going to be a potential custody lawsuit for my son, Amari. And my mom had just recently been diagnosed with multiple myeloma. So although I had physical custody of my son, and I'm there being the primary caregiver for my mom, you know how you get when you get in bad relationships. She'd call me, say something ugly. I'd hang up on her. I'd call her back, say something ugly. She'd hang up on me. One time she called me and she just said, "And who do you think is going to give a baby to a blind man anyway?" Yeah, that shut me down. I'm not hanging up because I'm not going to poke that bear, right? I don't know what to do. I get on the phone. I call Dr. Maurer. Again, I don't know. I mean, we've had these interactions. But I thought if anyone could help me get my head right, it would be him. So I called him. He spent well over I'd say an hour, but it felt like an hour, but it was probably more like 45 minutes, but still a significant amount of time. And he listened to me like he's done so many times since. And he allows me to use the vernacular because that's my native language. And he still comes back and he is very reasonable. So he told me this. He told me, well, first and foremost, if it comes to a point where this becomes contentious over custody, the Federation will have your back. Yeah. Anybody seen Pulp Fiction? When he calls the wolf? That's what I felt right there. Oh, you called a wolf. Yeah. So I'm good. But he told me more so what you should do, though, is try to talk with her and you guys should act like adults and put the child first. What a novel idea. But I tried it and it worked. We didn't have to go to court. She agreed that she wasn't in a good space to be a good parent at that time, and I ended up with full custody of my son, and we had joint decision making. Yeah, absolutely. That's the Federation that did that for me. You gave me my son. And at the same time, he reassured me through some personal stories about how he had to take care of his son during some medical fragile moments. And it reassured me that I could be the primary caretaker for my mom, because a lot of people were questioning that. And thank God for that, because I was able to offer her quality of life in her last 2 years. And in doing that, it gave me so much quality of life and being able to give back to her. So the Federation did that for me as well. So thank you guys. But be careful what you ask for. Now I'm a single father. Oh, with all that entails. And one of the things I really wanted to make sure is that I did not raise my son to feel like he had the blind dad. Speaking of blind dads, I'm going away from the script here, since I'm in the land that also David Dino Terrace lived. David and I had the joy of working on another podcast. I forget what it was called, but we used to call ourselves Two Blind Dads. Anybody remember that? No, it wasn't on the top list, but it's still out there archived. But it was very interesting sharing stories about how, as fathers, in that we did a lot of interviewing of mothers. So the story really was around mothers primarily, but we were the co-hosts. So it was really interesting. But I became that blind dad, and I didn't want my son to have me as the blind dad, right? You go to school and your dad's blind and all that. So I tried very hard to make sure. And I was just in Colorado, and a gentleman reminded me of a story I love to tell. I was walking with Amari through a little shopping mall one day, and he really got very lethargic. So I leaned down. I got down on his level, and I said, man, what's going on? He says, Daddy, everybody's staring at us. And at that moment, I'm thinking, well, they're not really around blind people. What do I do? And this is what came to me. I said, Amari, with a daddy this good looking, people are going to stare. Yeah. And he just laughed. I don't know what he was laughing at. It was the truth. But he just laughed. And all that day, every time I heard him laugh, I knew people were staring. But he processed it in a way that didn't, diminish me as his dad. It also made him probably put his chest out a little bit, So I love that. But learning how to cope with those public attitudes, it's hard. But I'm glad that I had that opportunity to really learn myself in that particular space. The convention also was held in Atlanta in 2000. So that was 1999, 2000. Gave me a double dose, really got me really energized. I saw the national convention. I said, I gotta get this. So in 1999, still, I start growing a big chapter. 2000, we escalated the growth of that chapter. We went to the state convention in 2002, and we ran that election. We had enough people. Everybody who we wanted in office got elected, and we ousted everybody who was old. But we didn't do it in a way that, I don't mean old like age-wise, the old heads that had no flexibility. And, we'll talk about that. Is the cash bar still open? Yeah. Everybody else prohibiting us from growing because they had this cannibalistic mentality. I mean, one year the president would run and then he would be defeated by his first vice president the next year. And, it was just crazy. So, but we were responsible. We didn't run in and just get everybody elected from our chapter. We did a very good thing, and we got nice representation from all the chapters. So every chapter president, we made sure got elected to the board, et cetera. So that was, I think, the paradigm shift of Georgia and the way that it existed as a affiliate within this organization. And the other piece of that is when I got reelected back in 2004, I was the first president in the NFP of Georgia that had ever gotten reelected. So that shows you how dysfunctional we were. Yeah. So I take that with joy. In 2002, I got elected, and then my participation in the organization continued to escalate. I had the opportunity to take a group of Georgians down to Florida for NAC tracking. Anybody NAC track back in 2002? Yeah, that was wonderful. In the rain, marching back and forth. I can't go into a whole lot of detail about NAC. Check your history on that one. I was also, as Lynn already talked about, and I mentioned, in 2002, I was awarded the Kenneth Jernigan Scholarship. Back then, the top number was 10,000. The next year, we raised it to 12,000. I felt a little gypped. No, I'm kidding. In 2002, I also really worked with our affiliate doing some real good legislative work. And at that particular point, we were trying to pass the Help America Vote Act. We went to D.C. Senator Zell Miller at the time says, you guys should go back and work with the Secretary of State on that. And we took him at his word. We went back and worked with Kathy Cox, Secretary of State, and Georgia was the first state in the nation to have fully accessible voting machines in every precinct, even before HAVA passed. Yeah, we did that. We were on fire. I love the team we had was really there to just make things happen. Let's go ahead to 2007. 2007, Lots of things happened. I got to participate in the NWU Slam. That gave me an opportunity to work with my buddy Marc Riccobono. That Preston P. Daddy Galler over there was one of the students. But you came in 2011, I think, right? Okay, you were in the second one. Okay, got it. Yeah. So 2007 was the first one, and that's when I got to work with Marc Riccobono again. We brought in 200 blind kids from across the country. It went so smooth from the outside. If you were working on the inside, you saw it was a painstaking, very meticulous effort that Marc Riccobono led. Again, that's when I learned to respect him and his organizational skills and his commitment to this organization. If you were part of that team, you would understand and know as I do as well. So then fast forward here to 2008. No, I'm sorry, 2003. How could I skip 2003? You know what happened in 2003? I skipped all over 2003. Anybody know what happened in 2003? After we got NAC tracking in 2002 and the HAVA stuff, I got on the national radar, and I was elected to the National Board of Directors in 2003. It was an extreme honor. I love that. Yeah. So I told you about 2007. I just get excited about Youth Slam, so I jump right to that. So in 2008, I had done a lot of work under Dr. Maurer's leadership as a board member. I went to, and I was talking to the ladies up here. I've been national rep 74, 75 times. I've been the national rep of every affiliate in this organization except for the NFB of Indiana. So I want you guys to start a letter writing campaign to Marc Riccobono. No, I'm kidding. Don't you dare do that. I'd never see Indiana. But I did a lot of work, and he sent me to some affiliates to do some affiliate building. He sent me to some of the affiliates to deal with some of the issues, and I love that. He called on me in 2008 to do something that was very difficult for me. In 2008, I became the chair of the scholarship committee. Those of you who've been around know that Peggy Elliott was the scholarship chair for many, many years. What you may not know is I tell everybody that Dr. Maurer was like my father in this organization. No disrespect to Mrs. Maurer, who I love to death. Peggy Elliott was like the mother. So although that transition wasn't as graceful as I wish it would have been, you have to practice a degree of emotional intelligence, as we were talking about as well, for the good of the organization. But I love the fact that Peggy also had the same degree of emotional intelligence. And despite the lack of gracefulness that took place, she still came and she spoke with me, and we still shared a really good relationship. Unfortunately, we don't share the same one today, which I miss, but I still love Peggy Elliott. She has a tremendous legacy of service to this organization, and I will continue to be supportive of her and what she does. 2009, you would think that I had known everything about blindness, but Dr. Maurer convinced me to go to the Louisiana Center for the Blind. I went there, and my whole life exponentially changed. I had learned how to read Braille, 33 words per minute, remember? Woohoo! I had learned how to travel, remember, from home to school. I went there at LCB. I sat down in front of Jerry Whittle. He says, "How fast can you read Braille?" I said, 33 words, maybe 40 with my chest all pumped out. He's like, "Before you leave here, you will be reading at least 120 words per minute." I didn't quite reach 120, but I got to 85, 90, and I know I'm at 120 now at least. I went to my O&M class. I remember going outside with, oh my God, I can't remember her name, Arlene Hill, and I was shorelining like they had taught me. And she says, "What are you doing over there? That building doesn't need you to hold it up. Come out here where the real people are." So I came out to the curb, and she says, "What do you hear?" I said, "Cars." That's why I was over there at the building. She said, "Okay, well, look ahead and tell me how far you can hear the cars. Point as far." And I pointed, and she said, "Now I want you to move just 10, 15 degrees to the right of that, and I want you to walk in that direction." She taught me how to mental map using the ambient noise in my environment. That seems so common sense now, but for 20 years, no one talked to me about that. We went to this open parking lot, and she's like, "Okay, now where's the building?" I'm like, I don't know." And she proceeded to tap her cane on the asphalt, and I heard the sound echo off the building. So she told me echolocation. How do you live as a blind person and supposedly have gone through training, and your O&M instructor hasn't taught you about echolocation? That's why the independent training that the Federation offers is so uniquely different. A lot of people don't understand the efficacy of it, but it's real. When I went to home ec at LCB, I never had home ec before, because in the traditional center, they said, "Are you cooking?" I said, "Yeah." But at that point, I'm cooking my reed counter chicken pot pies in the microwave. At LCB, I'm cooking from scratch. And I learned to love that because it's like building stuff. Oh man, I love myself. And I know it sounds simple, but I love myself some biscuits and gravy that I cook myself. Yeah, I'm just saying. I know all the diabetic friends of mine that I made earlier saying, shame on you. Yeah, I eat it sparingly. But I went to LCB, and again, that shifted my whole thought of my independence. I went into the Access Tech class. Josh Boudreau says, "Okay, do Word. I'm a computer science major, man. You nothing you can teach me here. Boom, boom, boom. Here you go. Can I leave? No. Now you need to do this Excel. Excel's not accessible. Yeah, do this assignment." I learned. I said, "Wow, this is powerful. You can." And he said, "Now I need you to do the PowerPoint." I said, "Now you're just kidding me, right? Because that's a visual." He says, "No, give me this assignment." And over this is over months, of course. It didn't happen like that same day. I only wish. But I learned to use PowerPoint. It just shifted my whole paradigm about the capacity of blind people in using technology. That wood shop was something else. I loved working with wood before I could see. I never thought I'd be able to do it again. But long story short, I have a 2-foot tall cherry wood mantel clock sitting on my shelf in my office today. I love it. Yeah. Let's see. Braille, travel, technology, home ec, wood shop. No, I'm not going to talk about Mardi Gras. I got to talk about that at the bar, Preston. I can't talk about that. We're being zoomed. So, so the piece, the seminar. Thank you. Exactly. That's what I was getting to. With all of that, all these people talk about the structured discovery method, but the key is about the mindset and the seminars that challenge us to think about things in new ways. Right? It's counter to how society looks at us. Hell, even counter to how we look at ourselves. Sometimes it's the key. We have to continue to question and learn and grow if we move through this space. Or when you stop growing, you're actually going backwards. Right? So with this newly infused confidence and ability to problem solve, Dr. Maurer came to me again and says, "How would you like to come to work at the National Center?" And then he added a little gravy to it. He says, "To help us work on building devices that will allow a blind person to drive a car independently." All I did was see myself in my Mustang convertible again, saying, yeah, man, that's what I need right there. But I got there, and it was wonderful. And I had to tell my friend John Parade. I outed him at Colorado a couple of weeks ago. So since it's already out there, this is not a secret. You guys can share this broad and wide. I was supposed to report to work that next day. And before that, I went to a beat baseball game, and I was playing beat baseball, and I'm fierce. But, well, I was before I got old. And I was fielding a ball, center field, running after it, and the spotters were just worthless. Someone had parked a car in the middle of center field, and my spotter said, "Heads up." Yeah, just like that. Yeah. Next thing you know, I'm underneath the car. There's a flash, and then I'll come to underneath the car. Face scratched up, ribs fractured, and I'm supposed to report to work the next day. So they jet me to the emergency room in the ambulance with the brace and all that stuff. So my friend's there, and I have her call John Parade to let him know, I'm in the emergency room. So John, Neil told me to call you. He's in the emergency room. There'll be baseball on. John says, "Okay, will he be able to come to work tomorrow?" She said, "John, you don't understand. He's got fractured ribs." Yeah, I do. I understand. But will he be able to come to work tomorrow? I love John Parade. It wasn't that he didn't care about me. He has the biggest heart. Oh my goodness. He has the biggest heart, but he has a serious love for this organization. And we were on the tight timeline to get some stuff done. So he wanted to make sure that he knew as quickly as possible if he needed to come with a contingency to fill in for me when I wasn't able to report to Virginia Tech. But I love that story because it makes him seem so callous and heartless, which is so counter to who he is. And when I say it out loud, he always gets real defensive. And I'm like, "John, it's just just jokes." But I was the director of strategic communications through that whole effort. I told you about how Marc Maurer handled himself during that blind driver challenge. That's why we were successful. When he did the demonstration on the Daytona International Speedway, that's a lot of pressure. I was in the wings because of another car that just in case his car messed up so that we could stay on the strict timetable that Daytona had us on. My job was to come out with that car and then do the demo. People say, "Wow, too bad you didn't get to do." No, no, no. They said, "Oh, we're having problems." I was like, "No, no, no." Okay, he's off. Yes, yes. Go, Mark. Go, Mark. And if you see the video, he's so calm. and all of that. But he's had so many different examples where he showed really calmness under fire. He actually runs toward the fire. He doesn't run away from it. Such a significant commitment to this organization, and I'm proud to call him my brother. Let's go ahead. So that's 2010. We did do the demonstration in 2011. I was really thinking about going back home to Atlanta to run for Congress. That was my plan. I was going to go back home, and in 2014, I was going to run for U.S. Congress. But Dr. Maurer told me, he says, how would you like to stay here and help us reactivate our efforts around repealing Section 14C? And I went directly back to those Lewises at the Georgia Industries for the Blind and all the other blind people that were being subjected to that discriminatory. I can't say no. Matter of fact, I thought it was going to be easy. Not so much. But I did put my best effort in. And with this collective action, with this group, we have made such a significant impact in the way that 14C is used. It's practically done, but we will not be done until we are done. When 14C is removed from the books, that's when we'll celebrate. Up until then, we will fight, and we will continue to fight. 2012, that's when I was the assistant director of advocacy and policy under John Perret, worked on the fair wages stuff. Fast forward to 2013. I got appointed to the Ability One Commission by President Barack Obama. One of the tremendous joys in my life, meeting President Barack Obama. That's one of those moments where I wish my mom was still alive and she could have seen that. It would have been awesome. When we worked under Ability One, I have to toot my own horn here in the effort of repealing 14C. The Ability One Commission and those associated programs were the significant purveyors of the exploitation of this particular provision. I, myself, along with Karen McCullough, who was a member of the Ability One Commission, for the first time ever in the existence of the Ability One Commission, we authored, penned, and got passed the first declaration against 14C by the Ability One Commission. Yeah. I think I deserve some applause for that. I love the fact that as a member of this organization, I've been able to meet so many powerful and influential people. In 2004, when I was elected president of NWA Georgia, we had to host the convention in Atlanta. Do you guys remember anybody there in 2004 in Atlanta? Okay, here's the test. How you feeling? All right, you were there then. That was it. That was on the T-shirt. That T-shirt paid for everything. We sold those T-shirts. Oh, my goodness. But as a part of that, we also did our first March for Independence. And I got to meet Congressman John Lewis in a real way at that time. Yeah, he's a significant mentor of mine. I remember when we met and we talked to him about it. He came up to the stage at Independence Park and he was saying, Brother Lewis, we're going to do this. I said, do me a favor, Congressman. Don't call me Brother Lewis. Call me cousin. Because then people think we're related. And you go back and watch the tape. He's like, yeah, my cousin Neil. And everybody thought we were related, even to the point, God bless, when Congressman Lewis passed away, I had people calling me offering their condolences. But I love him. Significant man. You guys, if you know John Lewis, you know about good trouble. And that just speaks to what we do as an organization. We get into some good trouble. And John Lewis says, get into some good trouble. You got to stand up. You got to get in the way. And I love all of that. So that's another piece that I had a chance to, in my advocacy and policy work for the Federation. 2014, I got a call by Dr. Maurer and Marc Riccobono, who was the executive director at the time, and they sat me down and they were saying, we got to work on transition. And they were saying that they needed me to be Marc's deputy. I said, okay, I'm good with that. Because at that particular point, as I talked to you earlier, the succession planning for this organization is really thoughtful and methodical. Marc Riccobono was going to be our next national president. Here, let me offer this too, because a lot of people come to me and they say, oh, why aren't you president? Dr. Maurer did his due diligence, and I can honestly say, and he will verify, and even Marc will verify, I was in the running, along with maybe two others that Dr. Maurer was considering. But I think to this day, I don't have any regrets. Marc Riccobono was the man we needed at the time we got him. So I'm proud to continue to support him as president of this organization. So being his deputy, I soon became the executive director of Blindness initiatives. And I talked to you earlier about all the projects and programs that I helped to try to maintain for the organization. And we want to continue to build this work, right? With all of us working together, right? Okay. It's not just the Anil Lewis show. Yeah. But doing all this work is a lot of work. And like I told you, it's hard and it gets tired sometimes. But when I go home and I'm exhausted, it is the best exhaustion. It is the best, well, not the best, second best sleep that a man can get. Only the grown folks got that. It's all right. But it is a really good tired. I just want you guys to know this journey has shaped my life in so many ways that I never would have imagined. I've learned so much through this experience that I could not have learned, as I said, in any formal environment, right? And I told you my story, but this is only one of many stories. Each and every one of you has a story to tell. And although I hype mine up a little bit, yours is just as impactful and just as dramatic, if you'd like it to be. And we need to hear this. This is why we need to build that Museum of the Blind People's Movement, because my story may resonate with somebody in this room. Your story may resonate more with others. And we have to make sure that everybody knows that we are a diverse, inclusive organization of so many lived experiences. And if you have been there, somebody else has probably been there too. And we can help you get through whatever obstacle you may have, right? I reflect back, I mentioned to you earlier around our Civil War period of the organization. And I often wonder, what would have happened if the Civil War would have taken a different perspective? This story that you just heard would not have been the story of the Federation. And so many other individuals who would have been excluded from participating in this organization would not have been welcome. So again, this is why we need the Museum of the Blind People's Movement. This is why we need each and every one of you guys to share your story, because it's important. When I reflect back on all the stuff I've done, even to myself sometimes, and I'm getting tired talking about me right now, but I ask myself, why did I do all this? For the most part, I didn't get paid until 2010. Denise, God bless her, 22 years. Why do we do it? Well, it's because the Federation has poured so much into me that I have to give back. I share with you all the things that the Federation, so much I would not have had today if it not had been for the Federation. But even more so, I think Dr. Maurer sums it up best. He says, the Federation demands it of us. You guys are a pretty demanding bunch. But I did choose to answer your call, and it was one of the best decisions I had made in my life. And I would like to close by these couple of comments. These are tough times that we are living in. As I said earlier, these are not the worst times. This is not the worst it's ever been. You need to research. And in that, we should know that it's nothing that we cannot overcome. We've been here before. We know how to get out of this. And if we do it right, we can come out even better than we were before we came in. Do not despair. Use this opportunity not to be afraid, but to use that fear to motivate you into action. Work to get into some good trouble. Stand up and get in the way. And let's go build the National Federation of the Blind.
Thanks to Anil for allowing us to use that speech to repurpose as an episode of White Canes Connect. We really do appreciate it. He was a great national rep, and it is always good to be in the same room and learn from someone like him. And he talks about just how powerful the Federation can be. You're not in this alone. Someone is there that can help or listen or whatever the case may be. So don't hesitate to reach out to someone. If you need help or some guidance, someone will be there, whether it's me or Lynn or Jim. Anybody will be happy to listen and help guide you to what you need to get to. Thanks again to Anil. I did want to mention a couple of things before I go. Coming up December 6th, that's next Saturday, It's the Pennsylvania Association of Blind Merchants holiday networking party and fundraiser that will be taking place at the DoubleTree by Hilton at Philadelphia Airport. Go to pablindmerchants.org/register to register for that event. Again, pablindmerchants.org/register so you can sign up. You can also become a member of the Pennsylvania Association of Blind Merchants when you register for the event if you like. Again, pablindmerchants.org/register. Giving Tuesday is coming up on Tuesday, and that is the 2nd of December. If you like what you hear from the National Federation of the Blind of Pennsylvania, please make a donation for Giving Tuesday. Go to supportpablind.org. That is supportpablind.org to make your donation. That will take you directly to our PayPal page. We're still having a few issues with our website, so that is why I want you to go there, supportpablind.org. Any amount you can give is greatly appreciated, so please donate. Supportpablind.org. Give even just a couple of bucks. Check the box to cover the PayPal fees. We really do appreciate it. If you want to reach out to us here at White Canes Connect, there's a couple of ways. You can email us at whitecanesconnect@gmail.com, whitecanesconnect@gmail.com, or better yet, give us a call, 267-338-4495. You've got up to 3 minutes to leave your name and town and your question, your comment, show idea, whatever the case may be. And please remember, if you do leave a voicemail, we may use it on an upcoming episode. Thanks again for listening. I really do appreciate it. And as Anil said, let's go build the National Federation of the Blind.